Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. I am Gian Ishmael Bacaran, and the presentation of our group, Group 5, falls under the Indigenous Science and Technology in the Philippines. What is indigenous science and technology? A quick search to the internet answers that this is referred to as indigenous or traditional knowledge distilled from generations of scientific work anchored in rural and tribal communities. We have known that Filipinos, especially during the early times, tried to invent tools that will help them in everyday life. We also developed alternative ideas in explaining various phenomena and in explaining the world around them. This system of knowledge is called indigenous knowledge, which is the foundation of indigenous science. The indigenous knowledge system is embedded in the cultural traditions of regional, indigenous, or local communities. It is orally passed through generations, and it is evident in stories, poems, and songs. Here are the images of tribes and indigenous people presented in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. As we go along with the examples of indigenous knowledge that are taught and practiced by the people, may we go back to the definition of indigenous knowledge given by Ms. Mariel Purugan.
Good day everyone, I am Mariel Puruganan. In addition, we are going through some examples of indigenous knowledge systems today. So what does indigenous knowledge means? Growing up, young children are exposed to many different aspects of life that contribute to the development of indigenous knowledge. They are brought up in a society where indigenous knowledge is extensively practiced by the residents of the community where they live and grow.
Here are the examples of indigenous knowledge. Number 1, prediction of weather. Prediction of weather in the north is Puwek Nikilig or storm of the killing. Next is the halo moon and the bloody red sunset. The prediction of weather in the south consists of kasili or the mythical fish. Also during the new year, when the cow or horse eats grass or whale, it meant that drought may happen. And when the goats repeatedly wail, a landslide may also occur. 114 plants are used by the Tadyawans as medicine in the north, and Herbolarios, Tuob, and Anino are used in the south as medicine. Ms. Mariel Puruganan will continue the topic.
Some examples of indigenous knowledge that are taught and practiced by the indigenous peoples are these are preserving foods, agriculture, seeds for planting. One is preserving foods. Best example is etag. It is a native delicacy in the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR, made of pork cured in salt and then sun-dried or smoked. The flavor of this delicacy may soon be enjoyed in the form of granules, cubes, and liquid seasoning. It is done by smoke it for a minimum of 30 minutes and maximum of 3 hours per day for at least 2 weeks. Second is classifying plants and animals into families. Best example is Banawe rice terraces, system of irrigated rice terraces in the mountains of the north central Luzon, Philippines that are created more than 2,000 years ago by the Ifugao people, although located in several villages that are collectively known as the Banawe rice terraces. What is and who does it? It is done by Sweden agriculture, also known as shifting cultivation, refers to a technique of cultivation normally by fire and then left to regenerate after a few years. Agricultural cycle and the constellation Orion.
Good morning, everyone. I am Micaela Padilla from Group 5. Our topic is about indigenous science and technology in the Philippines. I am discussing some examples of indigenous knowledge that are taught and practiced by indigenous people. Number 6, using indigenous technology. Sa ngayon, nakikita natin ito sa mga medisina like biomedical research labs, electromagnetic monitors or imaging systems such as CT and MRI scans. Number 7, building local irrigation have been a central feature of Asian agriculture since prehistoric times. Ang mga makabagong development sa pagpapaunlad ay kadalasang binabalewala, replacing traditional infrastructures with new construction. Indigenous irrigation systems should be intelligently assisted rather than mindlessly replaced. Number 8, classifying different types of soil for planting. Ginagamit ng mga tao upang tulungan ang kanilang sarili na ayusin ang iba't ibang uri ng lupa para sa produksyon ng pagkain.
Good day everyone, my name is John Lester Hubalde and I'm present to you starting the House of the North. In the North, they built their houses on a hillside, while in the South, they use hut. Hut is an often small and temporary dwelling of simple construction. They also use Sabanan house. Sabanan house is built along hillside and ridges overlooking family fields. Now, we are proceeding the Indigenous Peoples' Right Act of 1997. Indigenous People Right Act of 1997, an act to recognize, protect, and promote the right of indigenous cultural communities or indigenous peoples, creating a national commission on indigenous peoples, establishing implementing mechanism, appropriating funds, therefore, and for other purposes. We have indigenous science. It is a part of the indigenous knowledge system practiced by different group of people and early civilization. We have indigenous beliefs. According to Johnston 2000, indigenous belief also developed desired values, namely motivating attitudes, cooperating attitudes, practical attitudes, and reflective attitudes. We have indigenous science. Indigenous science uses science process skills such as observing, communicating, classifying, interfering, measuring, and predicting. And it is guided by community culture and values and composed of traditional knowledge. Now, we proceed to conclusion. Indigenous science is important that it helps the people in understanding the natural environment and in coping with everyday life. This brings an end to our discussion. We appreciate you for listening. Thank you.